The Thor engine scandal just exploded, and it's bad. Airstream, Jayco, and Keystone owners are done being quiet. Turns out the engines that promised freedom had a hidden defect that could kill power mid-drive. Documents leaked, recalls delayed, dealers told to stall. Literally, thousands of rigs on the road right now could fail without warning. If you've got one of these models, you need to act fast before your next trip turns into a breakdown. Here's how to know if you're affected. The breakdown nobody warned about. The first cracks in Thor's empire didn't appear in boardrooms. They showed up on the highway. Brand new rigs from Airstream, Jayco, and Keystone began dying mid-drive, their engines choking like someone had flipped a hidden switch. Owners posted dashcam footage of warning lights flickering seconds before total power loss. What they didn't know then was that these failures weren't random. They were the opening scene of what insiders now call the Thor engine scandal, a quiet catastrophe that's shredding resale values and trust across every major Thor brand. At one Nebraska dealership, mechanics were told to hold all incoming units for inspection review. Translation: don't admit the problem yet. Photos from that lot show identical stickers slapped on windshields. Engine recall pending. Months before any official notice existed. Behind the glass, each RV represented another owner about to lose 10 to 20% of its value overnight. What makes this scandal different is the timeline. The paper trail proves the defect was known before the first sale of the year. The engines weren't breaking down by accident. They were breaking down on schedule. Truth leaks faster than engines fail when silence turns costly. The leak that changed everything. In February, a thin stack of papers slipped out of Thor's internal network and landed in a technician's inbox. It carried the header, Service Bulletin 24025. Dealer confidential. That leak would expose the entire scandal. Inside were diagrams marking the exact spot where the engine wiring harness rubbed through its insulation until it shorted and stalled. The file listed hundreds of vehicle identification numbers from Airstream, Jayco, and Keystone models built between late 2021 and early 2024. Rigs already sold and sitting on the road. The most damning detail wasn't the defect itself, it was the date. The bulletin was stamped December 15th, 2024, 3 full months before the public recall began. That means Thor's engineers had already diagnosed the failure, while production lines kept running and dealers kept selling. The company had time to warn, but it chose to wait. Screenshots of the leaked bulletin spread across owner forums within hours, each new post adding VINs to the list. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from what went wrong to who knew and when. The scandal wasn't just mechanical anymore. It had become a cover-up in real time. That single file set off the chain that followed nationwide. If you've seen engine warnings or recall delays, hit like and drop your model in the comments. Your story adds proof, and every shared VIN helps uncover how deep this really goes. The repairs that didn't stick. At first, the repair process looked simple. Dealers were instructed to replace the affected wiring harness and flash an updated software calibration. But invoices began to tell a different story. Invoices from service centers in Indiana, Texas, and Florida all showed the same pattern. Repeat visits within 60 days for the same fault. Average out-of-pocket cost, $4,800, because many repairs fell just outside warranty terms or were denied as environmental wear. One invoice showed the same recalled part replaced twice. Another owner paid $6,000 for an unacknowledged defect. Each final update failed again. Engines lost power on climbs, warning lights flared, and brand new coaches filled with the unmistakable scent of burning insulation. The frustration wasn't just emotional. Extended downtime meant canceled trips, lost campground deposits, and steep depreciation as word spread online. When service advisors were asked why the problem returned, they pointed back up the chain to suppliers and software updates beyond their control. And that's where the next clue appeared, showing why the repairs kept failing even after replacement. Inside every failed fix waited proof the problem never ended: the supplier finger-pointing. Thor's assembly process relies heavily on partner powertrains. Airstream and Jayco use Ford's E-Series engines. Keystone and certain Class B lines depend on Mercedes-Benz Sprinter systems. When the failures started piling up, Each manufacturer blamed the other. Ford pointed to installation errors made after delivery to Thor plants. Thor's internal memos countered that Ford's wiring harness was built too tight for vibration tolerance. Mercedes engineers quietly noted in a separate European recall that connector pins on certain models could loosen under heat. 2 recalls revealed one problem. Campaign 25, V093, cited harness chafing on Jayco builds. 25 V094, filed by Ford, blamed sub-assembly tension faults. Same wire, same failure, same danger, yet owners were trapped between call centers, denying responsibility. Each month of delay drained owners' wallets. Loan payments kept coming while rigs sat idle and dealers refused trade-ins. Families lost entire travel seasons. Documents and matching recall diagrams prove everyone knew, yet production continued. The real evidence isn't in public filings, but in what Thor buried deep inside its own system, away from view. Finger-pointing faded once one hidden signature surfaced from Thor's: the quiet recall freeze. It started with one internal memo that was never meant to leave the building. Dated January 23, 2025, it carried the subject line, "Temporary warranty hold pending supplier confirmation." That short phrase changed everything. In plain terms, Thor froze all engine-related warranty claims across Airstream, Jayco, and Keystone until Ford and Mercedes-Benz verified defect origin. The notice meant no reimbursements, no repair authorizations, and no public acknowledgement that something was wrong. Yet the factories kept running, and the sales teams kept closing deals. Warranty claims returned pending confirmation, while unsold rigs filled lots. About 2,400 units, each worth over $100,000, lost roughly $11,000 in value within a quarter. Early traders took hits. Late owners saw open claim, "Do not resell," stamped on titles. Publicly, Thor said supply chain verification was the cause of delays. Privately, they were waiting for suppliers to take the fall. And as that waiting game dragged on, something strange happened. Dealers didn't stop selling, they started discounting. Hidden orders stopped claims while showroom lights kept glowing bright. Dealers in damage control. When the recall freeze locked up the repair pipeline, dealership owners across the Midwest and South began quietly clearing floor plans before the banks called in their loans. A stop sale notice went out on February 12th, warning dealers not to deliver affected VINs until further instruction. But the notice also included a loophole. It allowed clearance sale status for any unit already in customer negotiations. That single line triggered a silent fire sale across multiple states. On one Indiana lot, a Jayco Redhawk that listed at $139,000 dropped overnight to $118,000. In Arizona, a Keystone Montana went from $124,000 to $105,000. Even the higher-end Airstream interstate models, which almost never saw markdowns, were quietly tagged temporary incentive pricing. Each dealer used different wording to avoid saying the word recall, but the numbers spoke for themselves. Screenshots showed prices collapsing within a week as lenders pressed. Floor plan interest mounted, forcing dealers to dump stock at losses. Panic discounts dragged down even unaffected models. Shoppers mistook bargains for safety until Thor's so-called software fix arrived, triggering another wave of chaos. Discount stickers replaced excuses as inventory turned radioactive overnight. The software patch that backfired. In late March, an over-the-air update labeled Engine Calibration version 2.3 appeared on several owner dashboards. The release notes promised improved idle stability and vibration reduction. At first, it sounded reassuring, but technicians soon discovered the patch simply lowered torque output by reducing throttle response and limiting upper RPM range. The vibration didn't vanish. It was buried under weaker performance. Proof came from diagnostic comparisons. Before the patch, torque peak measured at 470 pound-feet on the Ford E-Series platform. After the update, it dropped to around 430. On paper, the engine seemed stable. On the road, acceleration lagged, especially on climbs or while towing. Owners began posting test videos showing slower 0 to 60 times and erratic power delivery. Within days, resale listings started carrying a new tag: derated engine. A derated engine couldn't regain power without factory approval, which Thor withheld. The update skewed insurance values and masked defects just long enough to stall a full recall. Outrage briefly faded until the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration intervened and made the scandal public. Digital patches disguised damage until the data betrayed them publicly. The official recall hits the public. On April 19, 2025, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration published campaign number 25, V093. The summary read, "Engine wiring harness may chafe against mounting bracket, causing stall without warning." The description matched the December service bulletin word for word. Alongside it appeared another campaign, 25V094, filed by Ford, describing the same fault, but under a different part classification. For owners who had followed the leaks, it was the smoking gun. The official recall confirmed what insiders had whispered since winter. The issue had been known, documented, and delayed. The bulletin date and the recall date sat 90 days apart. During that gap, hundreds of units were sold, serviced, or resold without disclosure. Proof overlays comparing both documents show identical diagrams and identical repair procedures, right down to the torque spec on the retaining bolt. The only difference was the header, one labeled Dealer Internal, the other Federal Recall. By the time recalls went public, values had already plunged another 5 to 8%. Insurers downgraded payouts, and recent repairs were voided without refunds. Regulators soon questioned that 3-month delay, uncovering that the timing wasn't accidental, and the deeper financial fallout was only starting. Public confirmation ignited questions no corporate memo could smother again. Regulators meet reality. When the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration issued the official recall, the expectation was simple. Repairs would follow swiftly. But on the ground, things looked far different. Service centers from Ohio to Oregon were swamped with backlogged appointments, many scheduled months out. A leaked report comparing agency recall data to active service logs showed that, out of nearly 5,000 affected rigs, fewer than 1 in 5 had actually been repaired by June. The rest sat waiting for parts that never arrived. A field inspector assigned to audit one Midwest facility admitted the obvious. "We can't fix what we can't get. The parts just aren't coming in." His comments matched what technicians had already been whispering for weeks. Wiring harness assemblies were on national back order, and temporary patches were failing faster than replacements could be installed. For owners, that meant rigs sitting idle in driveways or service lots while loan payments continued to draw every month. Depreciation didn't wait for repairs. Every month parked erased about $1,500 in value. Families lost trips, deposits, and full seasons. A stalled fix turned a $130,000 motorhome into debt on wheels. The breakdown wasn't mechanical anymore. It was financial collapse in slow motion. Real repairs stalled as bureaucracy met the limits of delay. Inside the service bays, step into any large RV service yard in the middle of summer, and you'll hear the same sound. Engines half-assembled, electrical harnesses hanging loose, and technicians muttering that they've seen this failure before. One mechanic in Texas summed it up bluntly: "The root problem's not fixed. We're replacing parts that come back with the same flaw." His bench told the story. 2 removed harnesses, both burned in identical spots near the bracket mount, sat beside a third waiting to be installed. Technicians began logging patterns that matched earlier recalls. The new replacement harnesses, labeled with updated part numbers, were built from the same gauge wire and insulation as the originals. Each swap bought a few more miles before the vibration and heat repeated the damage. For every hour billed to the warranty, another hour went unpaid as shops tried to troubleshoot deeper causes. Service centers complained to suppliers. Suppliers pointed back to Thor's engineering specs. Owners paid the price firsthand. Rigs sat idle for months, trips vanished, and deposits disappeared, losses of $2,000 to $3,000 each. The issue wasn't mechanical anymore, but freedom stolen. RVs built to roam stayed grounded, while blame shifted endlessly until insurance entered the scene, making matters even worse. Every lifted hood revealed déjà vu written in burned wire. If this breakdown exposed something you didn't know, subscribe before the next update drops. We're tracking every recall, every refund, and every rig still waiting for the truth. The insurance domino. By midsummer, several major insurance providers quietly updated their underwriting guidelines. Affected rigs under the Thor recall were reclassified as known defect exposure, a category usually reserved for flood-damaged vehicles or units involved in unrepaired accidents. The effect was immediate. Renewal premiums jumped as much as 15%, and some policyholders received outright cancellations. A leaked internal policy letter from one insurer spelled it out. Coverage limitations apply to vehicles with unresolved manufacturer defect notices. That one paragraph left thousands of owners unprotected. Even those waiting for parts were treated as higher risk, despite no fault of their own. One Airstream owner in Florida shared a rejection notice dated July 10th. It stated, "Vehicle ineligible for full coverage until recall completion verified. The repair center hadn't received parts, so his insurance lapsed automatically. To reinstate coverage, he had to show a repair receipt that didn't exist." The domino effect spread fast. Dealers rejected trade-ins without recall proof, freezing the used market. Banks tightened financing on affected VINs, calling them unstable assets. The blame game reached insurers and lenders alike. Then something shifted. Owners united, and that collective pressure began rewriting the entire balance of power. Premium hikes spread faster than any rumor, leaving forums furious. The owners fight back. It started quietly, with frustrated owners trading notes in online forums. Within weeks, those threads turned into full-scale data-sharing networks. Screenshots of repair invoices, photos of damaged wiring, and copies of denied warranty claims flooded social feeds. By July, a Facebook group titled Thor Engine Truth had gathered over 12,000 members. Each post added to a growing library of proof: serial numbers, production dates, even internal emails forwarded by sympathetic employees. Owners began building their own spreadsheets tracking failures by model year. The data pattern was undeniable. Engines built between 2021 and 2024 had the highest repeat failure rates. Armed with this evidence, a coalition of owners hired legal counsel to file a class action complaint in Indiana State Court. On August 1st, the filing alleged deceptive trade practices and concealment of known defects. It cited both NHTSA recall campaigns and the original service bulletin as evidence of delayed disclosure. Media coverage exploded as stranded owners shared lost summers and mounting bills. What began as scattered complaints became national accountability. Thor executives pressed on timelines, promised cooperation and audits, yet the true leverage came from owners' shared data, spreadsheets and receipts exposing the truth that finally forced action from the top. Collective outrage evolved into evidence strong enough to corner Thor. The government steps in. When a problem grows big enough to cross borders, silence stops working. In early August, Transport Canada published recall number 25046, and the language was word for word identical to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration campaign in the United States. Both notices described the same defect: engine wiring harness chafing against the mounting bracket, risk of stall without warning. For the first time, the scandal was international. Regulators on both sides of the border had issued synchronized warnings, proving that the issue wasn't a regional supplier error. It was systemic. Official bulletins told the story. 2 PDFs dated August 5th matched perfectly. Same diagrams, torque specs, different logos. Once public, markets reacted fast. Depressed values leveled out, and recall pending tags shifted to repair eligible. Within 2 weeks, trade-in prices rose roughly 3%, offering owners brief but measurable relief. The intervention worked. At least on paper, dealers could now process reimbursements through official recall channels instead of internal freezes. But government pressure always forces a corporate reaction, and Thor's response came fast. Within 48 hours, the company issued a statement that changed the tone completely. Two governments speaking together made silence impossible to maintain. Thor's official response: Thor's public statement landed on August 7th at 9:30 in the morning, time-stamped less than 2 days after the Canadian notice. The company line read, "We are working closely with our engine partners to ensure all affected customers receive timely and complete service." The phrasing sounded responsible, but analysts quickly noticed what was missing: no direct admission of when the company first learned about the defect. A quick overlay of the press release date against the original recall start told the truth. The internal service bulletin dated December 15th, 2024, was still months ahead of any public notice. That gap now stood as documented evidence of delay. Investors took notice. By market close, Thor's shares had fallen nearly 5%, wiping close to $200 million in market value in a single trading session. Financial outlets called it controlled damage. But the dip signaled a confidence break that wouldn't mend easily. One paragraph promised customer prioritization by risk and region, corporate talk for delays. Some owners would get repairs soon. Others waited through winter. Repair order followed cost, not urgency. Public relations spoke of safety, but accounting ruled. The statement ended politely, yet for most owners, patience had already run out. Corporate calm cracked the moment investors read the missing timeline. What you can do now? If you own or are considering a Thor-built rig made between 2021 and 2024, there are specific steps that can protect your wallet today. The first is verification. Go to the official recall portal, enter your 17-digit vehicle identification number, and confirm if it appears under campaign 25 of I-093 or 25046. If it does, you're eligible for a free repair. But eligibility doesn't guarantee immediate service, so keep records. Save every email, invoice, and service quote in a single folder. Cross-check your service bulletin ID. Earlier fixes under 2402. One may qualify for reimbursement. Contact your dealer in writing for recall documentation. Then use the downloadable Thor Engine Scandal Report refund script to claim compensation for overlapping repairs and recover what you already paid. 2 quick steps protect your wallet now. Run a VIN lookup and file a written claim. Owners who did saw refunds within weeks. It's compliance, not kindness. After service, check your calibration. If it reads version 2.3, demand the version 2.5 patch. These actions build the paper trail that keeps your value intact. Real defense starts with documents, not promises from polished statements. The final receipt. The last document surfaced in mid-September. It was a scanned PDF from a Supplier archive labeled Revision A. The file showed a Thor internal service bulletin dated October 10th, 2024, fully 2 months before the first dealer alert, and nearly 3 before any government notice. The subject line was clear: Engine Sub-Harness Tension Review. That single file erased any doubt. They knew, they waited, and owners paid. Months of silence cost families money, time, and trust. Every payment, trip, and denied claim traces back to that delay. The evidence is public now. Memos, recalls, invoices, all aligned. Real accountability means action. Verify your VIN. Keep records visible and stay alert, because the next recall is already closing in. History rarely hides twice once the final proof hits daylight. Before you click away, subscribe and comment your experience. The more owners speak up, the harder it is for them to hide.